I need you to go investigate another crime. Sarah will meet you on the site and give you the details. She's one of our best. You can learn a lot from her.
Looks like somebody's been playing with matches.
What we seem to have here is a break-in and arson. According to his statement, Jason Gray, the homeowner, left his house around 11:30 p.m. to go for a run. He was gone for a little over an hour, came back to find his home office ablaze. Got the fire out, but lost most of his office gear, computer, desk, the works. We've already canvassed the neighborhood, but nobody saw anything or anybody suspicious. Wish I had more for you.
That's what we're here for, officer. We'll start processing the scene, but we're going to want to chat with Mr. Gray. Sorry we had to meet here at the scene. I'm Sarah Seidel. Glad you could come aboard CSI. It was getting kind of old being the new kid myself. Anyway, I hear good things about you. We're going to pair up just fine. We'll want to test for accelerants, things that started the fire. This looks like a typical burn pattern, lots of charred samples and residual gas in the air. Are you sure you haven't done this before? Little luck, Greg will tell us something useful from the sample. Fire could have started here. House fires typically double in size every 30 seconds. Gray seems to have gotten to it pretty quickly. It's colored and rounded. Definitely not window glass. Looks like some burned wood scraps. Beautiful. Hydrocarbons and most other accelerants fluoresce under ultraviolet light. This is a good sample for Greg. There's a redial button. Maybe we should find out who the last person was on the other end.
Yeah, leave a message.
Pleasant. Sounds like Gray keeps good company. Every fire has its share of survivors. This is not one of them. If the perps were grabbing up Gray's papers before lighting them, we might find a survivor. Fingerprints. Too fragile to dust, but there's other ways to check for prints. Rag fragments. Smells greasy. I don't imagine Mr. Gray was working on his car in here, do you? Ever hear of a Molotov cocktail? That's 1 part rag, 1 part bottle, and 1 part liquid accelerant. Could be what started this fire. This lighter's an antique, so maybe it's just a collectible, but the cap's been screwed off and it's empty. Anything that could have started this fire is important. Collect it. Does that look like a shoe print to you? Me neither. Cast it. Maybe Gray can give us a lab rat's eye view that'll tell us what the heck it is. Grissom says let the evidence tell the story. So, if this window was broken from here, why so many shards outside? Try using a similar tool.
I'm Jason Gray. You the officers who wanted to speak with me?
We're with the Las Vegas Crime Lab, Mr. Gray. Criminalists. Sorry about your house. We just have a few questions.
Anything I can do to help. I hope there's some chance you can find whoever did this to me. Well, as I told the officer, I went out to get a little exercise. I do this when I can't sleep. It must have been around 11:30 because it was after the news. At any rate, I wasn't gone for much more than an hour 15 at the most. But as I was walking home, I could see a strange light coming from my office. And then I caught a whiff of smoke and the alarms went off. Mentally, I mean. I rushed in and somehow managed to put the fire out. Best I could. Well, I haven't taken a complete inventory, but obviously my computer, and with it, all my files and research, projects, client database. It'll take months to reconstruct it all. I should have kept backup disks in a safe deposit box, but damn hindsight. At least my insurance will cover some of it. Maliciously, you mean? I don't know, really. Not unless... Well, there is one person, but I can't imagine... James Ritchie. He's my biggest rival in the field. Aviation design. Anyway, we go way back. Not all of it good. He's been stealing clients away for a long time, and he's got a checkered past, to say the least. Still find it hard to believe. He's got several offices around town. I couldn't hazard a guess where he'd be right now. Yes, of course. Kind of a keepsake I'd misplaced. Thanks for finding it.
We got an arson case and need some tests run.
Well, and it's a pleasure to see you too, Sarah. But I'm starting to feel like this relationship is kind of lopsided. I give, you take.
How about I make it up to you by giving you this evidence to analyze for us?
Somehow I don't think I'm making my point. So, you got a hot case, huh? Yeah, well, let's have a look. That's wine bottle glass. I could have told you that back in my college days. What I couldn't have told you is the chemical composition's very similar to glass used in bottle factories, South American bottle factories. And I found traces of an accelerant from the fuel oil number 1 family to boot. Traces of accelerant. What you have here is lighter fluid. What we have here is a rag containing the delicate bouquet of fuel oil number 1 family, an accelerant. But it's a popular rag with lots of other party guests, dirt, grease, and a turbine oil used only in commercial aviation. Strong possibility that our fuel oil number 1 accelerant was jet fuel. And one more tasty tidbit for you, that rag's made of cotton fiber. And I'm not talking an old t-shirt here. It's exotic, one of 2 of almost 700 known cotton germplasms, one of which can only be found in Guatemala, while the other is native to northern regions of Ecuador. Rag, jet fuel, and a broken bottle. One Molotov cocktail coming right up, or that is, apart. What do you need? Do I have to tell you it's a lighter? And that it once contained lighter fluid? Judging by the radial fractures and hackle marks, you've got a window broken in with a great deal of force. Funny peculiar, I mean. Erosion patterns suggest the outside of the window is traveling away from the source of impact. You're gonna love this. It's as simple as ABC. A, it's lighter fluid. B, it's not lighter fluid. It's from the fuel oil number 1 family. Or C, it's both. Now that I've compared it to the earlier sample, I can say without question, it was aviation jet fuel. Well, what this isn't is a shoe print. It may be a knee print, but I'm fresh out of knee print databases, so I can't do much with it at the moment.
These hackle marks tell us a lot of force was used to break the window, and that the outside surface was traveling away from the source of impact. Fancy way of saying, that window was broken from the inside. We have an APHIS match to James Ritchie, charged with insurance fraud 4 years ago. Case was dropped, however.
Any breaks in the arson? Well, let's pull him up. Seems Mr. Ritchie has a prior for insurance fraud. Promising. Charges were eventually dropped. But you know what they say, where there's smoke? His company has a few offices scattered around Vegas. But the downtown branch seems to be the HQ. I'd start there.
Heard about what happened to Gray. Shame. Happy to help. If you can keep it short, I have a meeting in 15 minutes. Well, strange as it may seem considering my business, I don't. My obsession is sailing. You've probably already learned that Gray has a pilot's license. I think I remember hearing he keeps a plane here in town. He's a competitor, just not much of one. We both manage companies that design commercial airplane prototypes, and his business has been in a tailspin for more than a year. It's not my fault his dissatisfied clients come looking for a home. Why would I? He's barely on my radar. I would say, if anything, Gray feels threatened by yours truly. You know, he even approached me, begging to buy him out a couple of weeks back, as if I wanted what was left of his excuse for a company. I didn't threaten him, I laughed in his damn face. You can't seriously think I had anything to do with... Look, I'm not Jason Gray's biggest fan, but I don't go around burning houses down, even when I don't care for somebody. As for my whereabouts, you might check with the other 150 passengers on my flight, coming in from Chicago, Flight 157. I have no criminal record. Those charges were dropped. This is still America, isn't it? So what? I have had dealings with Gray. We've exchanged our share of documents over the years. If you're fishing for those drug rumors, I won't be part of that. However I may feel about Gray, I don't intend to get involved in character assassination. Anyway, what a man does in his private life is his own concern.
Yes? We'll just check civil aviation records and see. Corporate Learjet Tango 146, registered to his company. Last place it was hangared was Henderson Executive Airport. See if it's still there. Give me a second. Airline manifest confirms Ritchie was on that flight. Got in at 12:12.
Tango 146. Gray's plane, all right. Gray made a fuel purchase not long ago from the international airport in Quito, Ecuador. Looks like our high-flying exec wasn't exactly candid with us about the state of his corporate affairs. We have a man seriously behind schedule here, facing a loss of a cool $1.5 million. That's what we CSIs call a motive. They're locked. Guess we won't be getting in there.
So our hot case is heating up, and you need the Sanders touch. Without me, it's all guesswork, right? And Grissom just hates hunches.
You know what else Grissom hates? Slow lab work.
Hanger rag and the fragment from Gray's home share the same rare cotton germplasm. Species is definitely of Ecuadorian origin.
You guys are moving fast on this arson case. Got a new lead? Guy torched his own house, huh? Well, let's bring him in for a chat. Maybe he's just burning to confess.
Mr. Gray, I think you know why you're here. We've gathered considerable evidence indicating that you lied to us about the fire at your home.
Cooperate. Make it easier on us, we'll make it easier on you.
I've told you everything I can think of. No intention on my part to be deceptive. I don't know anything about that. I'm the victim here, you know. Sometimes I purchase wine when I'm down there. There's a fine local winery. So what? What am I being accused of? Drinking and driving? Are you joking? Of course I do. I own a plane and I'm active in the aviation industry. Jet fuel's good for killing weeds. Always keep a little in my back shed. I have a bunch of those rags. I don't know where I picked them up. There must be thousands of rags like that in Nevada. What business is that of yours? My office is a charred ruin. I lose most of my key records and you're nosing into my clients?
We have all the evidence we need to make an arrest, Mr. Gray. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to make it easy for both of us. We can do this the hard way.
I guess you're right. What's the use? You got the goods on me. You're right. I was way behind on that contract, looking right into the face of financial ruin. It had been building up over the last few weeks. The pressure. But it was spur of the moment. An impulse. I grabbed a rag and that bottle of jet fuel in the shed and smashed it on my office floor. You know, to suggest somebody pitched a Molotov cocktail. I added fuel to the fire, literally. Emptying my lighter on the desk, making sure to douse some letters on top, including one from James Ritchie. I put it out with the fire extinguisher I brought with me from the shed. Then it occurred to me, I ought to make it look more like a break-in, so I busted out a window in the office. But even as I was doing it, I saw the pieces of glass tumbling onto the ground outside and realized I'd screwed up. So I went out and tossed them back in. That's everything, I think.
After all that lying, don't you feel better now?
Mr. Gray, we didn't secure your shed because it wasn't part of the original crime scene. Could we have your permission to check it now, to confirm your story?
You need me to do that?
A judge would give us a warrant easy enough, but you letting us skip that step would be another gold star in your cooperation column.
That's what I'm trying to do. Cooperate. Go ahead. My house is your house.
Gray's story sounds way too strange. Let's check this area for collaborating evidence just to be safe. Pretty slick job of casting there. Are you sure you aren't a pro at this? This looks like a deep impression, so it may be recent. Make sure you check the handle for prints before you touch it. Fingerprints are mostly moisture. They evaporate pretty quick in the dry air around here. Means these prints are recent. But looks like we've got two overlapping sets of recent prints. If one belongs to Gray, the computer may be able to separate them in the lab. Yuck, that's nasty. Definitely smells like gasoline. What do you want to bet this thread matches the rag in the house and the ones from the hangar? Gray's confession is holding up. These are obviously the wine bottles, Ecuadorian vintage, too.
Is it my charisma that keeps you coming back for more, or just my brilliant intellect? Sorry, can't do anything with that. And survey says we have a match. Same jet fuel used in Jason Gray's little indoor bonfire. Exact same composition. Once again, we have our same rare cotton germplasm. Hey, keep bringing me these samples, it's not going to be so rare.
Okay, shoe print came from a size 9 runner, which matches Gray's size. So much for Gray being Mr. Cooperation. Prints from an 11.5 boot. About 2 sizes bigger than his feet. We separated our twins, and both have survived. We've got 2 sets of prints now. Yep, these are Gray's prints. They were entered in the system earlier. Stan Gins? Wonder if Gray can tell us why he's got a drug dealer in his backyard.
Make me happy. Tell me Gray's confession checks out. Sure, I can do that.
Am I supposed to know?
I think you do, and we're gonna prove it.
Yes? Good call. Maybe he can tell us why Mr. Gray's confessing and lying at the same time.
Mr. Gins, there was a fire at the home of Jason Gray. You've been brought in for questioning on the matter.
We've done some business. What kind of business? That's between me and my client. But I don't know from fires, okay? Out and about. Little walk around the neighborhood. That's still legal, right? Well, I own a pair of 11.5 feet. You do the math.
Need me for something? Sure, I can do that.
You've been lying to us.
You see, Mr. Gray, when somebody confesses, trying to help and all, but mixes in a lot of bull, well, we get frustrated. And me personally, I get cranky when I get frustrated.
But we're willing to give you a chance to put us in a better mood. So let's play truth or dare. Just leave out the dare part.
Yeah, name rings a bell. Think maybe he lives in my neighborhood. Don't get to know your neighbors like in the old days.
Maybe you need a distinguishing characteristic of Mr. Gins to jog your memory. Like his being a convicted drug dealer, for instance?
And Mr. Gins is trying to be cooperative, too. He started by telling us you're one of his clients.
Well, like I said, he's a neighbor. I think he might have borrowed my mower or... Look, I really didn't want to have to get into this. I'm going to level with you, really cooperate. But just remember, what I'm about to share with you could get me in hot water. I have a drug problem. A way out of hand drug problem. Which is why my business has gone to pot, so to speak. Stan Gins is my supplier. Lately, Gins had been showing up at strange hours, and he'd bring his low-life friends along, partying at my place. It was just sickening. On the night of the fire, I made a decision. No more associating with scumbags like Stan Gins, so I fired him. He didn't take it very well. He was really PO'd, bent out of shape. Plus, I'm sure he was high at the time, which didn't help. While I was in my office, Gins must have gone to my shed, looking to see what kind of grief he could give me. There was a knock at the door, and I opened it. And damn if it wasn't Gins, glaring at me, brandishing a blazing Molotov cocktail he'd thrown together. He was out of control. He threw the bottle, smashed my window to fan the flames, and took off. I ran out to my shed and grabbed the fire extinguisher. But then the wheels started turning. I could make the best of this bad situation if I rigged the scene to implicate Richie. I didn't want my drug problem exposed, and at the same time, I knew that if I implicated Gins, he'd kill me for sure. I'd be protecting myself and taking a competitor down with me at the same time. After the fire was out, I cleaned up the broken window, knowing I needed to make it look like a break-in to hide what had really happened. I tried to get all the bits of glass I could find and brush the dirt off before tossing them back into the office. And that's the whole sad, stupid, but true story. I tried to save my reputation. How am I doing so far?
Well, both you and Gins will be going away all right. And you do have something in common. Neither one of you can hold on to his clients.
We should have another chat with our friendly neighborhood drug dealer.
What can I do for you? Sure, I can do that.
Listen, you play with drugs, you get high. Play with fire, you get burned. No percentage in the latter. Hey, I said I was out catching some air. I may have walked by his house, but that's all.
You know, Gray might have covered for you once upon a time. But you try to burn somebody's house down, and the loyalty gets strained.
Going off on a good customer like that? You got a hot temper, Mr. Gins.
Go to hell. I've got plenty of customers, but he torqued me off. Guy thinks he's better than me. He said my friends were scum.
Imagine that.
I should have torched him, not his crib. Smart mouth looking down on me. And him, a degenerate doper.
Thank you, Mr. Gins. That's what we call a confession around our little store. And you know how nice it is having another satisfied customer? Looks like a solid arson case against Gins. As for the high-flying Mr. Gray, he'll come down to earth with obstruction of justice, arson, and insurance fraud charges. By the way, trainee, nice work out there. But take some time to throw back a cold one after work and relax. This job can be hell on your personal life. Now, go see Grissom. He wants to see you.
Sounds like you showed some good instinct out there. But before you let it go to your head, let's take a closer look at how you did. You investigated every possible angle on this case. It doesn't happen often. I'm impressed.